On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Alex Chirica. Alex is the founder of Tail Recruitment, which is This Is Your Tail is the URL of this brand. And it's a completely new recruitment agency specializing in, I think it's medical tech, and she specifically does financial crime and regulation for fintechs. This was a really, really fun episode. Alex is a 24-year-old new recruitment owner. She only launched the business in June. So she quit her job in May in lockdown and launched in June. Really interestingly though, she did it with a guy that she'd never met. So it was only because of the content she produces, the videos she produces on LinkedIn, that another recruiter, a guy called Harry, reached out and said, look, I like your style. I'm thinking of doing this. Would you be interested? They got to know each other through lockdown. And they started the business, signed shareholders agreements, set up a company, and they've still never met in the flesh, which is absolutely crazy. So she's only a couple of months in. They're making money. They're making placements. She seems like she's absolutely loving life in lockdown. And at 24 years old, with nothing to lose, why not? This was the story that, it makes me love this sector so much because, it just provides a platform for people to be entrepreneurs at any point in their life, no matter how old or experienced they are. And if you've got the confidence and you want to make something of yourself, recruitment allows you to do that. Also, I feel like the vision I personally had for this sector back when I started Hoxo 3.5 years ago was that there was going to be more people like this. Alex is exactly like that. She's producing content. She sees her job 50% marketing, 50% recruitment. And it's making her placements. Like, her videos make her money. And absolutely love this episode. So if you're listening and you're thinking about launching a company, or you're already in it and you want to find out more about how brand and content can help your agency, then listen to Alex, because she's a living and breathing example of how it works. So you're going to get lots and lots of value from this episode. Without further ado, Alex, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure. We just had a quick chat before, and it felt like we knew each other, even though we've never met.
Yes, that's the benefit of having content.
This whole personal brand journey I talk about a lot. I feel like I see your stuff. Are you putting something out every day now? Is it a video every day on LinkedIn?
I'm trying to do about 2 to 3 videos a week now. They just work so much better than posts. The engagement levels are so much higher. You actually get to connect with the audience. So I much prefer videos. Yeah,
I think we can talk about this in a bit, but I think the written posts are doing really well on LinkedIn, but videos, I feel like I actually know you by watching you rather than just reading your words. So I think it's a different level of relationship you build with people online, I think, from video. But look, I haven't even, I've done you a little intro there, but for the listeners' benefit, tell us who you are and what it is you do.
So I'm Alex. I run an agency called Tail, and I focus specifically on fintech recruitment for compliance and financial crime hires.
Wow, super niche.
Super, super niche. But I love that. It's what I've been focusing on for the past 3 years, and I get to know the community. I have the network there, and I just absolutely love it. I wouldn't want to expand from it, if I'm honest.
Literally know everyone in that space and can grow with it.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of being in fintech is that there's over 250 fintechs in London, and there's so many startups all the time. So you think you know the market, but then there's constantly new people coming in and new brands coming in, new companies. It's not just your standard like, HSBC, RBS, Lloyds, and those are your clients. No, I'll get a message from someone who's like, oh, hey, we're 5 people and we're launching. It's like, oh, this is great. It's exciting.
It's a bit like mine, right? New recruitment companies like you pop up all the time. So your client base is it's never ending, really. It's always changing, which is exciting. So let's go back a bit. How long have you been in recruitment?
3 years.
Right. So
not a long time.
To be launching. So tell us the story. How did you get into recruitment?
Just like most people, completely fell into it. I think I graduated. I was about to do my master's. I put my CV up on the internet, and then I get a call just saying like, oh, you said that you want to work with people, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to go to an interview here? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? sold me the dream, ended up in a very corporate company. That's pretty much it.
Really? And what was it, going straight into the market you're in now?
Yeah, so I didn't really have a choice. They put me into the team that had a spot, and they just said, you're going to be doing financial crime compliance recruitment. I have no idea what that was. Never heard about it in my life. And so I spent a lot of time getting to know the market, trying to figure it out. And then when I changed jobs, I was stuck in the same market. And yeah, literally just 3 years, but I wanted to move away from the corporate side of it.
Watched pretty quickly, you knew you weren't set for a corporate business.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch Suits a lot, right? So the whole corporate environment at the beginning was like, oh, that's amazing. That's exactly what I want my life to be like. And then after a year and a half of it, I said, nah, this is no way for me.
Is it? Like, you're not going to be meeting Harvey Specter in the office. It's just not.
No, I'm not going to be Donna anytime soon. There's no Harvey Specters around. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And for me, it was just, I think you know as well as I do, traditional recruitment is just sell. Like, you know, get on the phone, pick up those clients, do all of that. And for me, it was almost like, I don't like selling for the sake of selling. And yeah.
I don't think I ever saw it quite like a product sell. I saw it like a playground. I used to look at the recruitment market like a playground. I was like, right, mine was like yours. I used to do Lloyd's of London insurance companies, not fintech, but, you know, underwriters and brokers all by the gherkin. And I just saw it as this big circle of companies that I could work with. And I was like, right, I just need to get, and I knew the job titles I wanted to network with. And it was like, right, how do I get in front of them? Like, just pitch myself. How do I get myself in front of these people? Because the more of them I meet, the more I know them, the more I'll be successful. And that kind of just worked. But I want to know, how did you find the early days? Like, did you genuinely enjoy the job, or did you instantly know that it was the sort of thing you were going to stick at and become an entrepreneur in? Or
no, not at all. To be honest, I did not think I would be opening up my business. If you asked me in January or like in February time, or you're going to tell me, Alex, you're going to start your own business in 3 months' time, I'd be like, no, I'm not. What the hell are you on about? No chance am I doing that. But one thing I knew is that I really, really like financial crime, like anti-financial crime to be specific, like what it stands for, the ethics, the humanity side of it. And because of that, the candidates that I speak to are also very, very human.
Yeah.
Like they all care about, you know, making sure that human trafficking doesn't happen, or, you know, they find out fraudulent activity and stuff like that. So because I got to know those candidates and how passionate they were about that sector, it made me really passionate about it. So when I left my old company, I had offers to join different sectors, and I just simply did not want to, because I enjoy this one so much. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that is a game changer, I think. If you genuinely, you know, recruitment is a process at the end of the day, right? It's a process. Yeah. You can be better than others at it, but it is a process. But genuinely liking and caring about the people you deal with, I think, you know, it's like any business. I loved my recruitment market, but I love my job now more. Like, dealing with owners, for me, people like yourself, you know, I get excited about it. I genuinely get excited about it. And I think that's why, you know, you can throw so much more work at someone who gets excited by the purpose of what they're doing. And you're not just thinking about the money at the end of it. You're thinking about actually helping people and what impact you're having. So I love that. So let's get into it then. You say 4 or 5 months ago, you weren't looking at launching a company, right? So what set the scene? Where were you in January 2020? What was your life like?
So funnily enough, my old company knows this, but I got a job offer to work in Miami.
Oh, wow.
So my plan was actually to move to Miami, because I do all my salsa dancing, that whole Latin community. That is exactly what I love. But then that was to work in a pharmaceutical industry. And even though it's big in Miami and it's big in the US and a lot of money, it just didn't appeal to me because it wasn't fin crime and it wasn't fintech. And then I rejected the offer. COVID happened, and that's when I realized, okay, something needs to change. and we need to keep on top of what's going on and be innovative and try and drive something different. Otherwise, we're going to fall flat on our faces. And I think at the time, a lot of recruitment companies at the beginning were worried about cash flow or revenue or anything like that. And they were pushing KPIs heavily, like making sure that you're getting those deals in and all that kind of stuff. Whereas for me, I took a backseat and I thought, no, humanity needs to come first here, because people are struggling, people are suffering, people are getting made furloughed and redundant. So why don't we help them through this period with advice and everything like that, and then we'll see what comes out of it at the end.
Yeah,
that was my approach. And
you kept on, or were you furloughed yourself?
No, I was kept on. I was one of the few that wasn't furloughed or made redundant, which kind of made the idea of me leaving even more crazy to some people. It's like, you had a secure job, why did you leave?
When was the moment you realized you were going to set up?
May. It was in May.
Oh, so it's not long ago.
Not long ago at all. It was someone, Harry, my business partner, he dropped me a message because he saw my videos on LinkedIn and he already had his business for a year, but he wanted to rebrand. And I said, yeah, I mean, we can have a chat. And we worked on it together. We had the same vision about what we see recruitment like, the whole humanity aspect of it. And we just started working together, came up with Tail, came up with the branding and how we want to shape recruitment.
What was the name, right? What was the story behind the name?
Oh, it was a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. I was looking at the word talent and then literally just saw Tail in there. And I was like, oh my God, that is perfect. Like, we want to change people's narratives. We want it to be about storytelling. It was as simple as that. It was just looking at a word and just like, oh.
Tail?
Pardon?
Not another recruitment company called that?
No.
Oh, there's literally,
which is crazy. I thought there would be so many.
An agency with every word. When I was looking at mine originally, I remember we just put in like every Latin word you could think of and it was already taken. Every single one was already taken. And I think it's a really cool name. This is a really cool name. This is your Tail, right? That's the URL. Yeah,
so this is your Tail. And yeah, like I said, the whole point of it is that it should be about your narrative, your career journey, and we just want to help you through that. Because it shouldn't be that boring, trying to do recruitment, or at least the candidate experience. That's something that was really heavily focused with us. And something I didn't tell you actually, but we do a whole mental health element where once we've placed a candidate, we offer like therapy sessions with an external party for the transition period. So if you've got like a 3 months notice period, people go quiet on you. Your recruiter goes quiet and your new company goes quiet. And then you have to give in your notice. You have to change everything, say goodbye to your friends. Yeah. So what we decided as a transition is you can have this consulting service that can actually just aid you through that process if you want it.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process, so from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show. You know what? I think as a recruiter, we forget that. We forget we're constantly delivering offers. We're constantly getting people to agree to things, but we forget what that actually means per person. How much that, you know, sometimes that means families moving house, or, you know, kids changing schools that, you know, we've never even met. So I think that the more ancillary services recruiters offer around the traditional placement model, you know, the better. The more there's another one of my clients who do similar to you, and they also have a post placement like coaching program. So they are fine. They've built like a network of coaches in lots of different areas. So for example, if you're in a leadership role, they will also, as part of the deal, you know, put you through a leadership coaching program or whatever.
That's perfect.
Yeah. The more you can do, obviously it eats away at the profit margin if you don't charge for it, but as a purpose maximizer and as a differentiator in a market that's so saturated, I think it's a good plan.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, when you look at the cost, okay, if you've got a big business and you've got like 20 people to take care of, I don't know, because I'm not there, right? But at the moment, if I can put 10% off a placement, which let's say on average is like £1,000, 10%, with £1,000, you can do so much. You can literally offer a course to the individual in whatever specific area. You can offer anything that they want. Obviously, I don't know how that is if you've got a bigger company and how that eats away, but for the moment, I much prefer it, you know?
Yeah, it's a good play. I think, yeah, if once you start hiring and stuff, your profit margins become a bit different because you carrying people.
I'll come to you for advice when that happens.
You shout later on. So on a Sunday afternoon, you come up with the name. You and Harry agree. I mean, you didn't even know this guy? You never worked with him?
No, we didn't. Not at all. We definitely spent a couple of weeks kind of talking, making sure that we're on the same wavelength. And I think it's just the future of new business. We've never even met in person, but we speak constantly.
You've never
I've met him during COVID.
Oh, wow. How have you managed to sign contracts and stuff, all digitally?
DocuSign. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's fine.
You know what? Sometimes, I don't even care if the listeners are listening, right? Sometimes I'm thinking, what's the strapline going to be for this episode? And that is it. Launching a company when you've never even met your business partner. You know, that is genuinely COVID reality. It's like,
yeah,
if you'd have said that alone, like last year, like, you know, you could launch companies from you never met, you'd be like, shut up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works though, because the one thing we wanted to make sure is we're both the same age. We both really care about the morals and the humanity aspect of recruitment. And that was the most important part for both of us. And once we realized that we're on the same wavelength, we both have some really good ideas. We just thought, fuck it, why not? Sorry, I shouldn't swear, but I was like, screw it.
Don't worry, this podcast is uncensored for swearing. I try not to swear too much, but I do offend. I've offended some people in the past, but it does swing out. I actually spoke to Harry last year. I really liked him. We had a little chat about his brand, and it wasn't the right time to work with us, but I remembered him. And as soon as I saw he was your partner, I was like, yeah, I think he's a good guy. He's going in the right direction. So,
well, I'll tell you about him. The reason it works well, again, is because he goes at 100 miles per hour with about 10 million ideas. And I'm the person that says, okay, cool, let's structure it now. So that's why it works so well, because I can just pull him back down to reality a bit and actually enforce it.
Yeah, my business partner is like you. I'm the Harry. And then he's like, really? Okay. He's got a good sense of letting me burn myself out. And then when I stopped talking, it was like, now you're finished. Let's do the things that we talked about yesterday. I'm like, yeah. Sounds like it's a good dynamic. There's a book you should read if you haven't read it, right? It's called Traction.
Okay.
By a guy called Gino Wickman. And the listeners will remember, if you've ever listened to my show back in 2019 when I launched it, I'd literally just read this book when I launched the podcast. So it was in my head, and I mentioned it on every episode. I think I should get commissioned for the amount of books. But it's all about structuring a small business and making it like built for scale without chaos. And it talks about the classic business partner relationships. And there's like an age-old partnership that works. And it's basically the visionary, which sounds like Harry, where they're, you know, ideas, enthusiastic, creative, and then you've got the integrator, which sounds like you, where they actually get shit done. They make sure stuff happens.
That's why you see my videos, and that's why you don't see many of Harry's.
Maybe,
you won't mind me saying that.
I'm actually edited up. So, but that is it's meant to be like an age-old partnership, right? Visionary integrator, visionary. So it sounds like you've kind of stumbled on that without really planning it, which is pretty cool. It should set you up in good stead.
I hope so. So far, it's going well. Where September is going to be our 3rd month of having the business, and things are going well so far.
Let's go back. Yes. I'm at the point where that Sunday you've come up with a name. How did you then make the decision when to leave? And like you're getting paid in a pandemic. How did you make the call to say like do it now? Like what went through your mind?
I figured if I don't do it now, then I'm never going to do it. And you analyze the risks in front of you. And I figured I'm living at home with my parents. I have no bills. I pay no rent. I'm 24. If there's any time to do something like this, it's now. Because in a couple of years' time, maybe I'll be married or having kids or having a mortgage. And then I'll be less likely to want to make that risk.
Yeah.
So my parents were fully on board. All my friends were completely on board. And the hardest thing was probably just telling my old company that, right, I'm moving on. I think people underestimate how hard it is to give in your notice.
Oh, 100%. How did they take it?
It went really well, to be honest. No one was bitter about it. They wished me the best of luck. They tried to keep me on, which is always flattering. But I figured I have to do this. Otherwise, I'm always going to think, what if? For all I know, I could fall flat on my face in a year's time, but I'm never going to regret taking, that step to actually do it.
What can you lose at the point in your life? Like you can't go back to your parents. You're already there.
Well, exactly. There's really not much that I'm losing out on.
Really, no. When the world's in a bit of a standstill as well. I mean, I got Hoxo tattooed on my wrist a year and a half ago, and I get a lot of people say to me like, "You really got that?" I'm like, "Yeah," because even if it failed, right? Even if it all fell apart, it's still my business. It's still the first thing I ever launched. Like, you can't take that away from me. The experience of growing a company, and we're 3.5 years old now, and it's amazing how fast it goes. So I'd say enjoy year one. My advice to you is enjoy year one, because it actually gets more serious in year two, because you live in this like crazy enthusiasm in year one where it's unknown. It's like just pure emotion. And then year two, you feel like you got something you could lose. Like, when you started making a bit of money and you might have hired a person or two and you're like, shit, I'm responsible for some things now. Year one's amazing. But so when did you actually go in and quit and say I'm out? When did that happen?
Oh, so beginning of May is when I decided, right, I want to do this. End of May is when I gave in my notice. And it was a bit of a pain because I billed really well. So I was supposed to get lots of commission coming in, but you got to say no. I just thought, screw it. I have to do it. Doesn't matter. And then we just started working on the branding straight away. We just said, we want it to be a recruitment company, but we don't want people to know that it's recruitment at the same time. And the plan for it and how we envisioned it when we started it is that we want Tail to be a community of almost superstar recruiters where they can set up their own niche. And Tail essentially can be a form or a process of recruitment that has that humanity aspect, regardless of what niche you're in.
Okay.
And that fits in well with what Harry and I do, because Harry does med comms. I do fintech, but the process of recruitment is under Tail. Okay. And that's how we want it to be.
A final interruption to today's episode to introduce Vincere. Vincere is the all-in-one CRM ATS platform built for the recruitment and staffing industry. Now, I first heard about these guys about a year ago. The amount of prospect recruitment agencies and clients I was working with that were telling me they were moving over to Vincere, I had to look into it. And what I found was a business that had a global reach with multiple offices around the world. So they've got this follow the sun methodology, which allows them to support recruitment businesses wherever you are and be in your time zone. But the technology that they've invested in is becoming a disruptor in the space. More and more recruitment businesses are doing this to give their recruiters a competitive advantage. They broke into the G2 Crowd's momentum grid as a market leader based on their reviews from their customers. So the agencies that are using this platform are raving about it. Now, if you're a RAG listener and you're thinking about changing CRM, or you're a new business looking to launch with a new CRM, then I would get in touch with these guys, because if you mention that you're a RAG listener, they're doing an amazing deal. By visiting www.vincere.io/RAG, you can get an exclusive deal which offers 2 months completely free on a 2-year commitment, or 3 months completely free on a 3-year commitment. This applies to all licenses that you've either signed up for now or that you'll add in the duration of the contract. So get on there and have a look. Finally, if you're listening and you're a recruiter and you're thinking, I want to move into a more of a business development role, and I'd like to keep hold of my recruitment knowledge. Well, these guys are recruiting for a BD person, well, multiple roles in both Sydney and London right now. So if you've got a strong recruitment background, you want to move into BD and you want to work for a fast moving tech business that's helping people like you right now, then get in touch via their website, because they're hiring today. Back to the show. So when you started, did you have June out? You had to have June off, garden leave or whatever?
How long did I have off? Yeah, I think I had a couple of weeks off. I couldn't do anything, so I wasn't doing anything. I was kind of just trying to design my own tail branding, but sadly, it was shit.
The weather was pretty good as well, so you probably got a bit of time just to chill out in the sun.
Oh yeah, I was in the garden. I was talking to my parents. I was drinking beer every day, pretending I was on holiday. Nice. And then I was actually quite excited about having the non-disclosure agreement, because it just meant that I have to go after all new fintechs, and I was suddenly just so motivated to go after completely new clients.
Yeah, well, it forces you, right? So when did you first day of work on Tail? What was the date?
First day of work was 1st of July.
So July, August. So we're going into September, into month 3.
Yeah.
I asked this question a few times on the show because I get a lot of people wanting to start up. Like a lot of my listeners are like you, maybe last year, where you think, well, if you were thinking, but they're thinking of starting a company in the future. And that's what this show is about, helping them understand. So what things from a setup perspective would you say would be important for anyone who's thinking of launching a recruitment company in 2020, 2021, they need to think about?
Setup. Okay. At the beginning, I had to do a lot of reading on how to set up your own limited company, your own business. And then if you're going in with someone else, it's having a contract in place, realizing how that's going to work. If someone makes a placement, is it going to go into a shared bank account? Is it going to go into the individual's bank account? Like all of these tiny little details that you need to think about before you even make a placement. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a pickle, right? So I would start with the bare bones of it, of having a business banking account, having your limited company set up, having your website domain and everything that you need in order to do your job. And then when you make your first placement, you know that if you send an invoice, you know how it works. You don't want to be left right last minute and you're like, crap, I've made a placement. What the hell is an invoice and what does it look like? You know?
Yeah, sure.
So I think, all that kind of stuff took me a while to get my head around, and figuring out what a good accountant is and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I didn't even know what dividends were.
Yeah, but there's so much you don't know as an employee. Like you just don't know. No one's ever explained it to you, have they? So obviously, yeah, as a business owner, you can pay yourself through dividend, which is a lower tax rate. Obviously, you can only pay dividend if there's profit in a company, though. So you can, you've got to. There's certain regulations around it. And but what about setup in terms of CRM and tech? What have you selected as a startup?
I've been playing around on the CRM front because I had one called Talisman initially, and that was free. My overheads, for instance, I think they they can be very low for a recruitment company. So I think my overheads at the moment are like £250 a month, which is LinkedIn, accountant, phone bill. That's literally all that it is. And CRM, I'm about to change to another one called Job Adder, I think, which is kind of follows Trello. Do you use Trello?
Yeah, I use Trello.
I love Trello, and it just works for me because I'm more about, you know, color coding and seeing things visibly. So I'm just about to change onto that. But I do not think, if you're just starting out, that you need a CRM straight away to be paying for. I just don't think that it's a cost that you need right at the beginning. That's my opinion. Some people could differ, but
I think it depends on. Some people need it to like just feel like they're working. They need that habitual place to put their data in and stuff. But I do get your point. I think it's really important to keep costs low. How have you found then? So what's the first 2 months been like? Tell us, paint the picture. What's it been like?
I've had lots of messages. Like the one thing that I wanted to get away from is that I never want to do a cold BD call again in my life. That is not something I want to do. So instead of doing BD or using that time where I'm supposed to be doing BD, I actually come up with new content. So I come up with new content, or I edit my video stuff, and I'm just constantly putting that out there. And off the back of that, the BD does itself because I get people get in touch with me. So I feel like my job is 50-50. It's 50% marketing, 50% recruitment.
It's amazing hearing you say that, because like when I launched this business 3.5 years ago, that was my vision, that I felt the industry was going to go that way. And people were like, what are you talking about? I was like, honestly, people are going to start making videos. I was like, I'm going to make sure of it. When I first started putting videos up, people like were just taking the piss constantly. Like they were just sending me my own videos back to me. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, look, this is going to take off. Like other sectors are doing it. YouTubers have been doing this for a long time. Like Instagram influencers exist. Why is LinkedIn not going to go the same way? And I was like, I was the same. I used to sit there. We had to make 10 BD calls before 10 a.m. That was kind of a 10 before 10. And I was like, but there's guys on YouTube getting 1 million fucking views for a video about nothing. And I'm like, you know, imagine we did that. So that was where Hoxo came from, was that I wanted a brand like yours. I said, Hoxo, the recruitment company, was the original company. It was going to be built on me doing video content. It was exactly the same, but we're talking 2016. So as you were getting in, and
you're way ahead.
Yeah,
way ahead of your time.
I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, trust me, we've got a non-compete clause for 6 months. If I make a video every day on LinkedIn, clients will come to me, and the ones that I don't work with will, and the ones that I can't work with, when it comes to the end of the 6 months, when I phone them, they're going to know exactly what I've been doing. There's nothing in the contract that says I can't produce content. But then when I told other people about it, they got that excited about this. It was like 4 or 5 companies paid me before I even launched to do it for them. And I was like, oh, there's something in there. So that's when I flipped my idea to working with recruiters rather than being someone doing it.
Yeah.
But I still had to stand out and do the videos, and it's nerve-wracking. But what you started this video content before you left, right? Because I remember seeing your stuff probably for like 6 months or so. I feel like I've seen you about. Is it?
Yeah. I actually started doing it just before COVID hit. It was really weird timing. I think timing is everything, but I started doing it just about mid-March is when I started posting videos. And you could tell because they're really shit as you scroll down. And then you can tell that I've improved my editing since then. But yeah, my colleagues were doing the same thing. They were just like, oh, there's Alex posting another video, or here she goes again.
Well, some people think it's like, you know, you're egotistical, you love the sound of your own voice, but they won't say that when you're flying. Like, you know, I got loads of that. Now it's like, well, I'm coaching people how to do it now, right? So it will turn, and it already sounds like it's working for you.
Oh, completely. And the fact is, if I do message someone or a new client that I'm connected with, the first thing they say is, oh, you know, I've been seeing your videos, and the response rate is so much higher because they see my face on there constantly. Yeah. So, you know, some people are fine with that. If they see my face too much, they can just unfollow. That's not a problem. But the main thing over the past couple of months has been just producing content that can help people with their CVs or anything more specific towards financial crime. And I feel like now there's enough content on there when it comes to CV help that people want other things more in relation to mental health, getting back into work. So the content that you do as well just changes every single time. I'm not going to be talking about CV tips for the rest of my career and producing video content on that.
Yeah. How do you plan it? Like, what's your process?
That's one thing I've been struggling with, because I can't say I have a proper process. If it's late at night, about 9 p.m., I have a little folder in my OneNote that says late night thoughts. And I come out with about 8 to 9 different video ideas. And then in the morning, I brush it up. But my standard structure is, what's your first point? Like, what's the main overall point? And then 3 bullet points with like 3 ideas, conclusion, end of story. Yeah. So I've refined the process to the point where it's just like 2 minutes max a video. And they're like quick little snappy thoughts.
You do all the editing yourself?
Yeah, I've been playing around with different softwares and stuff in what works for me and what I like. Just got a new camera, which I'm very happy about. But I actually enjoy the editing process. I tend to do it after work. It's just so therapeutic.
What tools are you using at the minute that works for you?
So I'm using something called Filmora 9.
Is it good?
It is good. It's cheap and friendly, and it's mainly used for YouTube, like bloggers and stuff on YouTube.
Right.
And again, because I'm a new business or there's limited cash flow or whatever, I don't want to be spending like hundreds of thousands of pounds a month right now. But hopefully after 6 months or whatever, once I have a lot of work going on, I can just,
LinkedIn's changing, because I mean, back in 2017 when I started, you could literally just put your iPhone up and do a video and I got 250,000 views on one just talking about the gym. Like, recruiters should be allowed to train at work, like at lunchtime. Yeah. And it went off, but you didn't need to think about editing. There was no subtitles really. It was just so new. Whereas now, like, everyone's standards just getting better and better. But there are tools out there now, like Headliner or Subtitle, where they automatically put these subtitles on for you through AI. And there's loads of stuff out there that's so cool. I like the fact I've got this process called the PVC methodology that I've defined, right? Okay. So over a week, I try to do one personal piece of content. So that's something that's not recruitment related or work related, right? It's just something about my life, something about my thoughts. Like you say, talk about mental health, talk about anything. And to be honest, this podcast in some recent episodes has gone that way because it's just been so non-recruitment related. Then I look for the V stands for valuable content. So that's where I'll think, right, 3 times a week, I'm going to try and offer advice, things that I'm already doing, that I'm already talking about, that I can just, because people don't realize so much. I always say content should be an extension of your day job. Like, if you're trying to think of things outside of your job, like, why? Like, just think of the things you're already saying, like the things you tell one candidate on the phone, tell them all on LinkedIn, and they'll all.
Right. That's another thing. Once I realize that I'm repeating the same information to every candidate, I just think, well, might as well make a video on this, because there must be other people who could use this advice. So you're right.
And then the final one, the C stands for credible. And that's where I think if you get the personality bit right, and then you give loads of free value, you still need to show you're good at what you do. So by talking about things like success stories, case studies, testimonials, if you drop in once a week, you're mentioning, telling the story of a candidate you placed and why. I think that combination over a week keeps people understanding you, gives loads of free value, and it keeps them knowing you're top of your game. So that's a little process I follow. So try it.
I'm gonna write that down if you don't mind. Yeah. I'm constantly learning. See, for me, it's the other way around. Whereas you're offering advice on things that you're doing, whereas for me, because I've only had a business for 2 months, I'd rather ask for that advice, or just think like, okay, guys, this is kind of what I'm struggling with. And what I've noticed is that the LinkedIn community is amazing. Yeah. They are willing to help. And especially during this COVID period, I've never seen so many people really pushing to help others.
It went crazy though. I remember literally when it came mid-March, when it hit, like, I was getting calls off a lot of clients. What are you hearing across the market, Sean? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's not good. Like, I'm getting a lot of calls. A lot of customers I had were like, can we lower fees? Could we cancel contracts, pause, all this stuff? And I was like, look, let's just all take a breath, because let's just see. And then within a week, I started doing a daily podcast. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to release this every day now, because it's once a week's not enough. I'm going to try and Zoom and I used to do the podcast physical in the office. So it's going on Zoom, it's going daily. And that allowed me to touch point with so many people. And I just saw people's activity on LinkedIn just skyrocket. Like, people were just spending hours on there trying to ask for advice and help each other. And you could write the word help, and thousands of people would just be willing to, it's amazing. How have you found the actual job in the last 2 months? Is it busy? Are you getting work?
I am currently got 6 clients that I'm working with. I've done a couple of placements already.
Really?
Which I'm really happy about. But the benefit, the best and the worst thing about working with a fintech is that if you're a startup, you probably don't have HR, right? So there's no streamlined process in trying to get shit done. So with some companies, I feel like I'm an extension of their HR, where I'm actually telling them, like, look, this is what your process is going to look like. This is what you need to do. And that's one of the other reasons why I love working with them, because I'm adding so much more value than, just getting an email from HR saying, Alex, can you help us fill this role? And that's it. I feel a lot more involved in the company. And
you grow with them.
Pardon?
You grow with those companies as well.
Yeah, you grow with them. And because of the sector that I work in, it's a regulated market. So one thing I've always had a feeling of safety in is that if you're a financial institution, you're going to be regulated, so you're going to need these people.
True. And you're in that regulatory space, right?
Yeah, completely. And whenever you see a fintech coming up, you're going to need someone in the sector I work in, otherwise you can't operate. It's as simple as that. So
you've made yourself indispensable, really, in that space.
Anyway. That's the plan.
So what is the future? Tell me about how you see the next 12 months or so. What you're hoping for?
What I'm hoping for is see the rest of the year through and just really focus on the recruitment front. Like I said, my 50-50 job market is, focus on the recruitment side and then focus on the marketing side, and see how that can snowball and have that effect. And then as of next year, January, depending on where we are, I'm going to bring someone else on board and just really start thinking about growing the tail community. So just like any other recruitment company, it's going to be about growth, but we're not massively money hungry. We want this to be ethical, and we want to give back to the candidates, and we want to help the candidates on their journeys. So yeah, we have targets, but they're not crazy,
Yeah. Is headcount growth something that excites you, though, having a big team, or would you like it nice and lean moving forward?
Nice and lean, I would say. I rather the way that we would want to have it, and from Harry and I talking, the model that we would want to have is bringing in a superstar recruiter who's really well known in their niche. We would give them the setup that they need from a marketing front and everything, and they would keep 80% of their billings. So we want to flip it. In most agencies, you probably get around 10-20%. We want to flip it the other way around, where actually the recruiter is getting 80% of their commission, because it's their work, it's their doing, we're just providing a platform for them. And that's how we want the tail community to grow.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
I've heard a few of them. Someone else said it. He said, most agencies think, what's the minimum amount of money I can pay a recruiter to keep them in the job? And this other guy was like, what's the maximum amount I can pay them and still make profit myself? And I thought that was a great way of looking at it. Like, it's about, I love these disruptive models that people are going with, because it's what young and fresh ideas will bring to the sector, and it's how the recruitment agency market will grow. It will look very different after COVID-19. Like, the amount of companies that have shrunk because of furlough and what have you. And then are they going to really want to grow the same way? Are they going to want to throw the same headcount back in? I'm not convinced. I think there'll be a lot of smaller, leaner, more agile, more marketing, technology-focused businesses now, rather than just hiring a load of juniors and throwing as many in a room as you can.
Oh my God, completely. I find it so crazy. You get an agency that calls themselves specialists, but they've just hired a 21-year-old fresh out of uni who's now a specialist in hiring engineers when he's only just heard about the job about 2 months ago.
Well, yeah, be trainee specialist, right? That's what it's about.
Yeah.
My final thing with you is just what goes through your head, right? Because you're young, you're energetic, you're on video, you're launching a business. Like, it can't all be easy. Like, it sounds great, but what's it really like for you personally trying to do this? Like, what goes through your mind? Like, what do you doubt yourself in any way? Is there anything what's the reality of it? Because it sounds unreal at the moment.
It's really funny because I had this conversation with my mum when we were on holiday, and I said to her, Mum, is it bad that I own my own company and I don't feel stressed? It sounds really weird. And I was panicking and I was thinking, am I doing something wrong? Like, is there something I'm missing out on where I should be constantly stressed? Because you see all these posts about, I work from the moment I open my eyes till I close my eyes when I own a business. But that's not how I want to run my business. I want to have a life. I want to make sure that my mental health is intact. I want to make sure I've got time for my salsa dancing, for my friends, because once you have all of these things in balance, they feed into your work. It makes me think of new content for work. So the reality of it is that I'm enjoying it a hell of a lot, and I can't say I've been stressed yet. So maybe you can advise me on this. Like, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
No,
I don't know.
I'd say not at all. I'd say, enjoy it for how I have no doubt stress will come your way, but how you deal with it is what matters, right? There's another line, there's a gap between stimulus and response. There's a gap between when something happens and the way you react, and in that gap is where I think like people are happy or not. Because if you can't manage that process, and it sounds to me like you've got enough other things going on in your life that this is going to add to your life rather than become your life, or at the moment anyway. My advice to you would be, just enjoy this year because you haven't got anything to lose. It sounds like an amazing opportunity. When you grow people, it will start to become more complex and there will be more headache, and there will be, I'd be interested to know what conversation you have with your mum in a year's time. We'll get you back.
I feel as though I thrive off of stress. So don't get me wrong, you know as well as I do, recruitment is an emotional roller coaster. You get one piece of good news in the morning and then 2 hours later you get something negative. But that's just the way that recruitment works. So I deal with that stress at that time, but anyone who works in recruitment will know that they need to park that, or they need to deal with it, because they can't just hang on it for the rest of the day. If you get like a deal that falls through, fine, you can be sad for about 5 minutes, but you just have to go for the next one, or you have to fix it, or you have to do something else.
You have to just give your head a break and move on.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see what you're going to do this year. You stood out a mile with your videos. I'm connected to a lot of recruiters. I see a lot that's out there, and you've done. I think what you're doing is amazing. So keep it going. And
thank you so much.
I'd love to get you back on in a year and see what's happened with Taylor.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me on.
No worries. And if any of the listeners wanted to reach out and ask you any questions, there might be a lot of other recruiters that aren't even owners yet and just wanted to pick your brains. Are you open to have that chat with people?
100%. Both on Instagram and LinkedIn. I use both of them.
I'll tag you on the posts that go out. But guys, thank you for listening again to another episode of the RAG podcast. I hope you are enjoying this season show. Today was all about, this is what lockdown is creating businesses in ways that we've never seen before. And I'm hoping that you're taking things from every single episode of this series. I don't ask for any money for you to listen to this show, but I do ask for one thing, and that's you share the show with someone you know. So if you know another recruiter, someone in your life that you think would benefit from listening to Alex's story, then please get it out there, because together as an industry, We're going to be a lot stronger if we stick together. I'll be back again next Wednesday with another story. In the meantime, you stay safe, and I'll see you soon.